This footage reportedly shows Ukrainian Special Forces, SSO, snipers targeting a Russian recon unit around the Bakhmut area. A new aerial video shows Russian tanks being destroyed by Ukrainian resistance in the Donetsk region. On yesterday, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense shared a video from its 53rd Mechanized Brigade of what appeared to be Russian tanks moving along a swath of frozen ground before being engulfed in massive clouds of smoke. The offensive of Russia's in Donetsk region continues according to the same suicidal plan. The ministry captioned the footage. Russian forces have ramped up their offensive in the battle for Bakhmut in recent days. The small mining city is in the eastern Donetsk region, which has been at the forefront of the war in Ukraine and has served as a major transport hub for Ukrainian forces. If successful, the conquering of Bakhmut would hand Russia its first major win in months and bring Moscow closer to controlling all of Donetsk. Earlier this year, Russia took over the town of Soledar, located 5 miles northeast of Bakhmut. On yesterday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, "The enemy is constantly destroying everything that can be used to protect our positions for fortification and defense. Our soldiers defending the area around Bakhmut are true heroes." The Donetsk region recently became a tricky battleground due to spring temperatures that have thawed previously frozen land into muddy puddles, making it difficult for both sides to make advances on the ground. Last week, Yen Gadjin, an advisor and spokesperson for the acting head of the so-called Donetsk People's Republic, told Russian state media that Bakhmut had been encircled by Russian troops and that Moscow had choked off Ukraine's path to ammunition supplies. Oleksandr Syrsky, the commander of Ukrainian ground forces, agreed that the fighting had grown extremely tense. He also said that Russia has dispatched Wagner assault units to try to break through Ukrainian defense. Vicious battles are going on there, Serhiy Cherevadii, a spokesperson for Ukraine's Eastern Military Command, said on Ukrainian television. The command is doing everything it can to stop the enemy from advancing through our territory. On yesterday, an advisor to Zelensky said that the Ukrainian military was considering pulling out troops from Bakhmut amid the relentless shelling and growing casualties. Our military is obviously going to weigh all of the options. So far, they've held the city, but if need be, they will strategically pull back, Alexander Rodniansky, an economic advisor to Zelensky, told CNN. "We're not going to sacrifice all of our people just for nothing." Since invading Ukraine more than a year ago, Russia has already captured much of the neighboring Luhansk region, which together with Donetsk makes up the Donbass. The United Nations has estimated that there have been more than 21,500 civilian casualties in the first year of the war, including 8,101 deaths and 13,479 injured. The Russian army is on the verge of losing 150,000 soldiers since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, according to officials in Kyiv. In its daily Facebook update, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that 149,890 Russian personnel have been killed since February 24, 2022. That includes 650 personnel lost within the past 24 hours. Russia has also lost 6,638 armored fighting vehicles, 5,257 vehicles and fuel tanks, 3,395 tanks, 2,393 artillery systems, 2,055 drones, 479 multiple launch rocket systems, 300 airplanes, 288 helicopters, 247 air defense systems, and 18 boats, according to the report. A general staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine report published yesterday stated that 550 Russian troops were killed in the previous 24 hours. Ukraine says that the Russian military has lost one-third of its fighters in just the last 2 months. Ukrainian officials reported on December 21st that Russian casualties had surpassed 100,000, an average of approximately 10,000 deaths per month up to that point. That number surpassed Russian soldiers' previous largest casualty count since World War II. These figures have not been verified by Tech Update News. On February 28th, the Center for Strategic and International Studies, SISE, published an analysis stating that Russia suffered more combat deaths in Ukraine in the war's first year than in all wars combined since World War II. The average rate of Russian soldiers killed per month is at least 25 times the number killed per month in Chechnya and 35 times the number killed in Afghanistan, which highlight the stark realities of a war of attrition, the study says. The Ukrainian military has also performed remarkably well against a much larger and initially better equipped Russian military, in part due to the innovation of its forces. A nationwide database maintained by Mediazona and the BBC's Russian service has reported over 15,000 fatalities since launching last spring. Their figures are based solely on deaths that can be reviewed and confirmed, including social media posts by relatives, reports in local media, and statements by the local authorities. The real death toll is much higher, they report. Besides, the number of soldiers missing in action or captured is not known. The Russian Ministry of Defense has remained relatively mum on their forces' death toll. The Moscow Times reported that their last count was 5,937 troops in September, while Western officials have alluded to numbers of dead or wounded eclipsing 200,000 Russians. Mikhail Troitsky, professor of practice at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, told Newsweek that it's difficult for one military faction to calculate its own losses, let alone tally that of an adversary. Both sides' losses, counting even in the tens of thousands, are indeed unfathomable, Troitsky said. Who could have imagined a year ago that such a tragedy could be inflicted by one country on another in Eastern Europe in the 21st century? Military losses apparently reflect the nature of warfare, artillery duels, and massive use of poorly equipped conscripts, particularly on the Russian side. Much more tragic and criminal are civilian losses in this war, and these seem for now almost certainly to be heavily underestimated.